Good evening and welcome to this special report. We begin with breaking news from Washington, where President Trump is signaling a major shift in U.S. foreign policy regarding the war in Ukraine. His administration is now taking a significantly different approach to the conflict, one that many experts say could redefine America's position on the global stage. Trump's new stance on Ukraine and Russia. In a surprising move, the Trump administration has put forward a proposed UN resolution that noticeably avoids condemning Russia as the aggressor in the Ukraine war. Even more striking, the resolution does not reaffirm Ukraine's territorial integrity, something that has been a cornerstone of U.S. and Western policy since Russia's 2014 annexation of Crimea. This development has raised concerns among U.S. allies, as it suggests a possible softening of Washington's stance toward Moscow. Instead of supporting Ukraine unequivocally, President Trump appears to be shifting toward a more transactional approach, one that prioritizes negotiations and potential concessions over direct confrontation. Steve Witkoff's role as Trump's key diplomatic negotiator. Adding to the intrigue, President Trump has placed his longtime close friend and real estate developer, Steve Witkoff, at the center of these high-stakes negotiations. While Witkoff is best known for his business dealings, he has recently emerged as a key diplomatic player in Trump's foreign policy team. Witkoff's recent diplomatic efforts have included a direct meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Prior to this, he was also involved in negotiating the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, a deal that is still being worked on in its second phase. His growing role in global negotiations suggests that Trump trusts him as a key figure in shaping U.S. foreign relations. In an exclusive interview, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt stated that President Trump believes, quote, very strongly that Russia is willing to make a deal, and that he is very confident we can get it done this week. This raises the question, how close is the world to seeing an end to the war in Ukraine? Negotiations and a possible peace deal. When asked about the ongoing discussions, Witkoff remained optimistic. He cited recent meetings in Saudi Arabia with the U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor as evidence that momentum is building. He also referenced the release of American prisoner Mark Fogel, suggesting that Putin's decision to free him was a signal of Russia's willingness to negotiate in good faith. However, this shift in approach has triggered a wave of criticism both domestically and internationally. Critics argue that by refusing to explicitly condemn Russia's actions and downplaying Ukraine's right to its own territory, Trump is aligning himself too closely with Putin. Some fear that this strategy undermines U.S. credibility and weakens support for Ukraine at a critical moment in the conflict. Concerns about Trump's relationship with Russia. One of the biggest concerns surrounding this new approach is that Russian state media appears to be celebrating it. In a recent broadcast, Russian commentators stated that Trump's rhetoric is in total alignment with Putin's views. This has sparked fresh fears that Moscow may have undue influence over the Trump administration's decisions. Some analysts argue that Trump's public criticisms of Ukrainian President Zelensky, calling him a dictator and blaming him for the war, are directly benefiting Russia's strategic position. Additionally, Trump has taken NATO membership for Ukraine off the table, further cementing concerns that his policies could leave Ukraine vulnerable to future Russian aggression. His insistence that Ukraine will likely have to cede territory to achieve peace has only added to these worries. The issue of Ukraine's rare earth minerals. Another point of contention in these negotiations is Trump's demand that Ukraine grant the United States sweeping access to its rare earth mineral deposits as a form of repayment for American military aid. These minerals, which are crucial for manufacturing advanced technology, are in high demand globally. Initially, President Zelensky rejected the proposal, arguing that Ukraine needs stronger security guarantees from the United States before making such a deal. However, Witkoff has now suggested that Zelensky is reconsidering his position. According to Witkoff, the Trump administration expects to finalize an agreement this week, signaling that pressure from Washington may be influencing Kiev's decision-making. Will Russia have to make concessions? Despite the intense focus on what Ukraine must give up, questions remain about what concessions Russia will have to make in a potential peace deal. Witkoff acknowledged that negotiations typically involve compromises from both sides, including territorial and economic agreements. However, specific details about what Russia might concede remain unclear. President Trump's strategy, according to his advisors, is based on peace through strength and consensus building. They argue that past diplomatic efforts have failed, and that Trump's approach is necessary to bring the conflict to an end. However, critics argue that this could set a dangerous precedent, potentially rewarding Russia for its invasion by allowing it to keep control over seized Ukrainian territory. the future of NATO and US commitments. Beyond Ukraine, Trump's foreign policy moves are also raising concerns among America's European allies. Friedrich Merz, the frontrunner to become Germany's next chancellor, has warned that European nations must prepare for the possibility that Trump may not fully uphold NATO's mutual defense commitments. At the heart of this concern is Article 5 of the NATO Treaty, which states that an attack on one member is considered an attack on all. If Trump refuses to honor this commitment, it could fundamentally alter the balance of power in Europe and embolden Russia to take more aggressive actions. However, Witkoff pushed back against these concerns, arguing that the US has contributed more to NATO than many European nations and that criticisms of Trump's stance are unfair. What's next? As negotiations continue, the world watches closely to see if Trump's unconventional approach will succeed in ending the war, or if it will instead leave Ukraine in a more precarious position. Will Ukraine be forced to make major concessions? Will Russia face any real consequences for its aggression? And what does all of this mean for America's role as a global leader? One thing is clear: this moment could redefine international relations for years to come. Stay with us for continued coverage on this developing story. This is Your Name, reporting live. Back to you.